Said to be spiritual beings of the highest order, those who serve as messengers or intermediaries to God, the angels are creatures that one might easily connote with goodness, enlightenment, and perhaps even protection. Throughout the biblical text, angels are seen to be creatures that bestow peace. They bring mercy and relief, and sometimes they bring judgment, serving as instruments of God's will and power. Many might associate them with safety, as we see an angel comfort Hagar in the desert. Others associate them with guidance, as we see an angel stop Abraham from sacrificing his son, whilst others can compare them to being saviours, as we see an angel warn Lot to leave Sodom and Gomorrah. Fundamentally, these angels are benign, if not a little scary. Some say there's a reason they preface their messages to humans with the words, "Do not be afraid," for their appearance may not be as welcoming as suggested by medieval and Renaissance painters. Nonetheless, these creatures are seen to put mankind first, either by acting out the will of God or by assisting those in need in some way, and effectively saving them. Put simply, the angels are on our side. Yet, if that truly was the case, then why do we have angels that are more inclined to spite us? Indeed, whilst they are believed to be few and far between in comparison to the good angels, when we consult religious texts, we do still see that there is enough of these fallen angels that might warrant some concern. I mean, Lucifer alone is able to convince a third of the angels in heaven to join his rebellious cause. In today's episode, we'll aim to understand more about the mindset behind these rebellious entities, as we dissect the psychology behind Lucifer, Semyaza, and Azazel, to name a few, and determine exactly why it is that angels fall. We know from the biblical text that Lucifer was cast out of heaven for rebelling against God. Indeed, it's common knowledge that Lucifer was once one of the more favoured angels of God. Perhaps his favourite, in fact. And it was with such privilege that pride got the better of Lucifer, going to his head and ultimately corrupting him. Lucifer was effectively the perfect angel. Ezekiel 28 describes him as blameless, beautiful, and full of wisdom. And yet it is because of these traits that Lucifer began to believe that he was owed more than what was offered. We are led to believe that he became so consumed with pride over his God-given gifts and abilities, and so full of desire to usurp God, that it led Lucifer to scheming against God, whereby he assembled an army of angels who shared his sentiment. Ultimately, Lucifer's plan to overthrow God is thwarted when he and his forces are defeated by the angels who remain loyal to God. He is then cast out of heaven, where he transitions into his more evil manifestation of Satan. This appears to be where we get the concept of fallen angels, for it was Lucifer and the angels who sided with him who fell from grace in their defeat, who fell out of favour with God, and quite literally fell from the heavens. It is with this that we get a few answers to our original question: why do angels fall? Well, as we can see from Lucifer's case, pride would appear to be the most obvious of reasons. He believed he was better than God. He believed he ought to have ruled instead. He believed in himself to such an extent that he appeared to have forgotten not only who had created him, but the sheer difference in their levels of power. It would appear that pride can blind the angels just as easily as it can blind us, and that if an angel continues down such a path, it becomes a surefire way to fall out of the grace of God. This is what makes Lucifer perhaps the most fascinating character in Christian theology, because unlike God, and many of the righteous prophets in scripture, Lucifer demonstrates more human tendencies. He makes mistakes, he gets emotional, he allows his delusions of grandeur to overcome him, and as we see, he pays the price for his transgressions much in the same way we might find ourselves doing if we behaved in a similar manner. We never see certain biblical characters make such mistakes. Take Joseph in the Genesis account, for example, who serves as the exemplary human being by never losing his cool, or acting always in the best interest of his Lord. We never see God make such mistakes or behave in such a human manner because, well, he's God. He's perfect. But Lucifer in this sense is more relatable. He's kind of like the Greek gods, capricious, egotistical, ambitious, hungry, all those things that make a person human. The story of Lucifer and his character arc resonate with us because we've all known what it's like to have pride, and perhaps what it's like to experience a loss of pride, and the inner turmoil that comes with it. The second reason why angels fall can be because of desire. One of the main reasons Lucifer rebelled in the first place was because he wanted to be God. Some might say he lusted after the idea, becoming obsessed with being known as the Most High and stopping at nothing to achieve it. Desire then appears to affect angels in a rather similar way to humans. It is a feeling we don't really have control over. Indeed, whilst we might be disciplined enough to resist such feelings, we don't necessarily choose them as much as they choose us. Desires, though, aren't entirely good or bad. I suppose you might say that it's how one acts upon a desire, or whether they act at all, is what determines if they have sinned or transgressed. Temptation becomes the main principle when considering desire. Is one strong enough to resist that which might appear tantalizing at first, but may not be good for them in the long run? According to Lucifer's story, angels operate by that same ideology. Yes, they do experience desire, perhaps not necessarily lust according to the biblical account, but definitely wants. Lucifer wanted to be more than he was. He wanted his throne above God's. He wanted to be God and have everyone else look up to him. By this logic, angels are the same as us. Yes, they might be closer to God and be considered divine, but they also share our own pitfalls. In fact, Lucifer was the very best angel according to scripture, so the fact that he falls victim to pride and desire gives us the idea that all angels run this very same risk, and all angels are therefore fallible. Biblically speaking then, angels and humans are on a similar trajectory, just perhaps on very different scales. The only notable difference is that where humans are subject to desire and pride, and we fall victim to these aspects, we are redeemable. We can learn from our mistakes and vow never to commit them again. Perhaps we can learn from our consequences and better navigate our way around said pitfalls in the future. What's more, according to standard belief, God forgives the sins of his followers. Every man has a chance to earn his way back into the graces of God. Angels, though, appear to suffer a far graver consequence for their transgressions, in the sense that, once they have fallen, there is no coming back. Lucifer is never forgiven, perhaps an indication of how much pride he had accumulated, that he never tried to earn his way back into heaven, and always maintained that he was better than God. You might say that the defiance of angels hurts God much more than the defiance of man, which is interesting, considering how wounded and animated he is when we see Adam bite the apple, or Cain murder Abel. For whatever reason, the descent of angels sees God shun them thereafter. There is no redemption for them, and there are no second chances. We never see any of the angels who sided with Lucifer welcomed back into heaven either. In fact, it's argued that these angels transgressed so badly in their decision to follow Lucifer that they became demons, this being a testament to how far removed they now were from God. Indeed, it might be said that the reason angels aren't redeemable after their fall is because once they have chosen the dark side, they cannot choose any other way. We as humans have the ability to recognize our wrongs and to try to make amends. In fact, you might say our conscience might demand that we do, and can influence us into doing the right thing. Angels, though, might not have this same mentality. For them, the difference between good and evil could be like a switch that, once pressed, cannot be flipped the other way. This assumes that angels always start off in a good mode. They are created in this way and designed to be wholesome, benign entities, but that should they find themselves on the wrong end of pride or desire, they can defect and enter evil mode, of which there is no coming back from. This leads on to the idea that angels do actually have free will. They can choose to serve God and live righteously, or they can choose to serve Lucifer and live sinfully. As you can see, this pretty much mirrors our own moral alignment and struggle when choosing between the path of righteousness and the path of sin, showcasing that we and the angels aren't all that different, and that we are both held and measured by more or less a similar system. What makes this idea so intriguing is probably because the Bible never really talks about fallen angels. Yes, we are told that Lucifer managed to convince a third of the angels to join his side, and that these angels were condemned with him, but after that, we are never told anything more of them. We aren't told what it was they found so convincing in Lucifer's argument, nor what was promised to them, but simply told that they fell with him. One suggestion is that Lucifer, subsequently known as the Master of Lies or Master of Deception, led these angels astray and tricked them into believing that he was correct. We know from Ezekiel's account that Lucifer was full of wisdom, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that Lucifer was able to out-strategize his fellow angels, deceiving them into taking up arms against God. He might have promised them rewards that God had no reason to offer them, may have offered them positions above their station, or allowed for them to act in ways that were otherwise forbidden. Whatever the case, these angels fell for it, and that's the crux to understand why these particular angels fell. One idea is that they, like Lucifer, also desired more. It's possible they were offered more under the command of Lucifer, more power, more recognition, more glory under this new god than they could have ever achieved with the current one. Therefore, you can argue that the root of their descent lies with their want for more, just like Lucifer, to be honest. It makes sense why they sided with him in the first place, if they all shared this same reasoning. Yet it might also be said that these angels fell because of greed. Yes, they already had quite the prominent occupations. They were angels, they were already close to God, and they were already, by that nature, divine. Yet they still wanted more. Just like us, we may forget ourselves and take for granted the blessings we already have. We are not grateful, and because of that, it can lead us to desire more and more, perhaps more than we deserve or ought to have. It's human nature, but it's also refreshing to hear that it could be angelic nature too, should the angel in question also allow such thoughts to win out. In the book of Enoch, we learn of another class of angels, the Watchers. These beings were employed to, as their name suggests, watch over humanity. Yet the text tells us that these angels became infatuated with the mortal women, and after some deliberation, decided that they could not resist descending upon them. Despite knowing that this was forbidden, the angels, led by the Watcher Semyaza, have their way with the mortal women on the earth, and don't seem all that guilty about it thereafter. Once more, desire becomes the main root of what causes an angel to fall, albeit, in this case, lust seems to be the more accurate description. This text, although non-canonical in mainstream Christianity, shows us the first instance of angels even being attracted to humans. Much more, it shows us the first sexual encounters between angels and mankind, something that isn't expressed anywhere in the traditional Bible. Now, this one is perhaps even more relatable to those who are married or in relationships and happen to encounter someone else they're attracted to. Normally, it's not that big of a deal, but if a person begins to act on those initial feelings of attraction and begins to lust after this person, a moral choice isn't normally that far away. Either the person removes themselves from the situation and shuts down their infatuation out of respect for their relationship, or they find that they cannot resist and cheat. The same can be said for the Watchers here. Their relationship to God was first and foremost, God was effectively their first love. And yet, after seeing the mortal women, it isn't long before they forget about God and give in to their own personal desires. Indeed, they had a choice. We see them deliberate over it in the text, and yet ultimately, they cannot resist such temptation and damn themselves to enjoy such temporary gratification. In this narrative then, lust is the downfall of the angels. Lust is what causes an angel to fall. Lucifer wanted power. His angels surely echoed similar sentiments, but it is Samyaza and his watchers that truly encapsulate our basic primalness, in the sense that, in the end, all they ended up wanting was sex. Just like the angels who joined Lucifer, the watchers show no remorse. They continue to further damn themselves by sharing the secrets of heaven with the women, teaching them sorcery and witchcraft. If lust wasn't enough to cause an angel to fall, then leaking the secrets of heaven to humans would have surely sealed the deal. What the Watchers were doing here was basically breaking God's trust. They should have known that mankind had not been told such information for a reason. That's why the information was secret, and also should have known how man handled such information, as in the case with Adam, Eve, and the Tree of Knowledge. Indeed, the Watchers don't just stop at fornication. It almost seems like they stick around to try and further impress the women by teaching them all these forbidden things and encouraging them to practice them. It might be said that this is the result of having fallen. They have no desire to return to God and have a new compulsion to continue ruining that which they have already desecrated. They can't express remorse or guilt, because now they have transitioned over into evil. They don't remember what it is to be good. Just like Lucifer and his angels, they have succumbed to a permanent heel turn. But to say lust was the only root cause of this might not necessarily be correct. Another principal angel amongst these ranks of the Watchers is Azazel, he who expresses no real interest in the mortal women, but more so in equipping man with weapons for which to fight with. Indeed, we are led to believe that Azazel not only teaches man how to fight, but he also teaches them how to incite war. This is Azazel's main crime in the whole saga, albeit he does go on to be blamed for the entire episode, but perhaps that's a reflection of how terrible his individual transgression was. In any case, you might say that Azazel has one of the more unique causes for falling, and that's this need for chaos, violence, and hatred. Only a psychopath would introduce war and weapons into a society that didn't already have these concepts, and considering Azazel wasn't equipping mankind for their own benefit, say against the Nephilim, but rather against each other, it might be said that this bloodthirstiness and need for destruction is what led to his downfall. An interesting take is that unlike Lucifer and his angels, the Watchers were so engrossed in their own personal gratification that they hadn't even realized that they had fallen. This is why we see them remain on the earth to teach the women sorcery and to teach the men how to fight, because by this point they are so far beyond saving that there is no other course for them but to continue transgressing. They do not concern themselves with the consequences. They do not worry about having betrayed their God, and they have no inclination for anything other than to further realize their own selfish needs. However, there does come a point in the text where the patriarch Enoch is sent to read the Watchers their rights and to detail the consequences of their actions, to which the Watchers do begin to express penitence. Unfortunately for them though, it's too little too late. Besides, it's easily argued that the Watchers were not truly sorry for what they had done, but were merely sorry that they were going to suffer the consequences. Again, unlike Lucifer and his angels, God is seen to punish the Watchers almost immediately, sending his archangels to apprehend and bury them in chains, deep under the desert, where we are told they still remain to this day. Perhaps this is why we see them suddenly begin to show remorse, insincere as it is, because these are the only angels we see from any text of angels actually getting what they deserve. We never see Lucifer being punished for his crime, outside of being banished, nor do we see his angels reprimanded for their involvement. So perhaps this is a teaser of what believers may expect will happen to them, that Lucifer and his angels will beg for mercy in the same way the Watchers did before being cast into the lake of fire and incinerated. According to Jewish folk legends, there exists a supernatural law known as Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, which essentially embodies the congenital inclination to do bad things. Every living creature is believed to be affected by this inclination, and not even angels are exempt from this indisputable law. According to the Tree of Souls by folklorist Howard Swartz, there does exist an account of both Semyaza and Azazel assuring God that they were so loyal that they could go down to earth and not be affected by Yetzer Hara. Testing this, the two angels descend upon the earth, but when they get there, they are immediately struck by the beauty of the mortal women and succumb almost immediately to Yetzer Hara. By this idea, angels cannot be blamed for their downfall. It simply is a risk they run by entering the earthly plane and becoming affected by this universal law. In conclusion, the fall of angels is not simply a cosmic rebellion led by a rogue few, but rather a deeply human story of pride, desire, lust, and the thirst for power. Through Lucifer, we see the corruption of greatness, the perfect angel undone by his own belief in his superiority. In his followers, we see a mirror of his ambition and greed, and in the Watchers, we encounter that fatal allure of temptation in its rawest and most human form. These fallen beings were not inherently evil, but rather chose, or perhaps failed to resist, the wrong path. Their story suggests that angels, like humans, are susceptible to moral failings, and perhaps even more tragically, unlike humans, they are not granted the chance to repent. This irrevocable nature of their fall serves as both a theological mystery and a cautionary tale, that even those closest to the divine are not immune to downfall, and that free will, while a gift, can lead even the brightest amongst us to darkness. Ultimately, to understand why angels fall is to confront the uncomfortable truth that even the most sacred of beings carry within them the seeds of their own destruction. As always guys, if you've enjoyed today's episode, then don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Until next time.